This episode of The Matt Ferret Show is brought to you by the Brickhouse Agency. Brickhouse is a boutique independent health insurance agency that focuses on finding the right Medicare coverage for folks across the country. Matt's wife, Nikki, is the heart behind Brickhouse. She's great at making confusing things clear and is passionate about helping people find a Medicare insurance policy that suits their individual needs. To schedule a free one-on-one appointment with Nikki or a member of her team, head on over to brickhouseagency.com or simply call 844-844-6565 and someone will help you schedule a phone call or a Zoom meeting. The consultation is free because the insurance companies pay Brickhouse, not you. There's never any pressure or obligation to enroll. Your clearer, simpler Medicare journey is just a call or click away. brickhouseagency.com. Not affiliated with or endorsed by the government or federal Medicare program. Contacting Brickhouse Agency, LLC will direct you to a licensed insurance agent.
Welcome to The Matt Ferret Show. Practical conversations to help you thrive in midlife, retirement, and beyond. I'm Matt Ferret, author of books and courses on Medicare and Social Security, and a former healthcare executive with decades of insider experience. I use that experience to help people make clearer, smarter decisions about health, wealth, lifestyle, and caregiving. Each week, I sit down with experts, insiders, and fascinating people to explore what it really takes to thrive, finding purpose, building stronger relationships, and creating a sense of meaning and community in the second half of life. Together, we'll light the path towards your wealth, wisdom, and wellness. Welcome to the conversation. Hey, everybody. Well, today's guest isn't your typical retirement coach. She's a certified retirement life coach, author and founder of the Second Wind movement, where she helps people turn retirement into the most vibrant, purpose-filled chapter yet. She's also the author of the Amazon bestseller From Aimless to Amazing, the Rewire Retirement Method, a neuroscience-based system that teaches retirees how to rewire their brains literally for happiness, purpose, and growth. So today we're going to talk about why so many people feel lost after leaving full-time work, what's happening inside your brain during that transition, and how to build new momentum in life after work. Cyn Meyer, welcome to the Matt Ferret Show.
Thanks for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
Nice to see you and to hear you.
See you.
So for people who haven't met you yet, tell everybody what you do, how long you've been doing it, and how you help people.
So I've been doing this for about a decade now, and it was a calling that kind of started in the background, not what I went to school for or anything like that. But I run a company called Second Wind Movement, and it's very mission-based, and I'm a certified life coach for older adults, and it's to help older adults transition into retirement, turn the retirement years into their best years, full of purpose and passion and energy. So all the non-financial stuff, the stuff that is related to self-actualization and spiraling up and being very, very fulfilled. So
awesome. Thank you. And by the way, and I said this, before we hit record, thank you for saying older adult and not elderly or senior or any other word I'm not much into labels and words, but I always found older adult kind of makes, it's not age specific. It's also not stage specific. So I'm glad you're doing that. Thanks. I do it too.
And we'll hear the feedback from people, right? This is offensive. Don't use that term, right? And so, yes.
Nobody wants to be called elderly, even if you're 105. I'm pretty sure.
Totally agree. And what's interesting, I did 50 over 50 interview series. And the first questions I asked were, how old are you? And then how old do you feel inside? And the overwhelming majority of people, like 99%, felt younger. So it's kind of like what you identify with, right? And it's very much a youthful thing, even at 105, for sure.
It is. You describe yourself as a modern life coach for older adults with a neuroscience twist. You said you didn't go to school for this.
No.
I didn't go to school for this, but here we are. What made you connect brain science to retirement?
Okay, so there were signposts that started early on in my life. I always wanted to work with this audience. So I grew up playing music in retirement homes. I saw early on what happens with a sedentary lifestyle. And then both my grandparents passed with Alzheimer's in 2011. My dad had brain surgery and 38 rounds of radiation. So that was when I took a deep dive into like neuroscience stuff. And then my background is in marketing. I went to business school, marketing director for a wide range of industries. And one of them was financial advisors. And so that was our clientele. Like I saw firsthand people with big nest eggs fall into a sedentary lifestyle and just quickly get over the honeymoon period and then fall into that. So this was like a thing that just kept calling at me throughout the years. And so at that point, that's when I got my life coach certification, and then married those coaching tools specifically tailored to older adults, and married that with neuroscience and created my program, the Rewire Retirement Program. And I became obsessed with just like human behavior, how your thoughts inform your behavior, and what motivates people, inspires them to keep moving and growing and all these things, right? And so I learned that it was very much based on just kind of doing the neuroplasticity play and hijacking your brain's ability to create new neural pathways in your brain until you die, but leveraging it so that it can be toward your growth. And that's something we don't learn when we are training to retire. We just focus on the financial aspect.
Yeah, we don't learn any of that, do we? I mean, it's nothing that's, common knowledge, and those are in air quotes, right? Because your brain finishes growing in your mid-20s, right? Mid to mid-late 20s. And that's when you're a fully formed adult human. And then you grow and learn, but your ability to retain and your ability to create new things gets worse as you age. I mean, that's common knowledge, right? So what you're saying, that's not right. And you can still retrain your brain at any age.
Yes, exactly. So it's common knowledge to think like, oh, our heyday is over. We're not designed to learn at this stage. What, right? So like we peak in our mid-careers and mid-family life phase of life, like stage 2 and then stage 3 is time to wind down. And it's like, no, your brain is literally designed to create those new neural pathways in your brain until the day you die. We're just not encouraged as a society, as a culture, to reroute them for new experiences, new growth, new ambitions, new purpose, new identity, right? So I always say we are trained and conditioned to look toward external motivators, which is very powerful. You can get success, you can get money, we achieve, we accomplish, we have these goals, right? And so that is the driver for the majority of our life. And then when that's gone, then it's like, oh, well, there's nothing left for us to do externally, like motivation-wise. So then I always say this is when we need to reroute to the internal motivators. And that's when we gain clarity from the inside out. And it's not like you're going to replicate someone else's retiree life. You're not going to be, that's why when people are like, you're not retired, what do you know about retirement? I'm like, it's not about me. It's got nothing to do with me and everything about you and your insides. That's where you're going to find your purpose, your passions, your growth path, what lights you up literally from the inside out. And I just guide your way to there using the power of rerouting your brain.
You know, you said the phrase inside out a couple of times right there. And I've read that you've said one of retirement's biggest challenges are invisible. Is that what you mean by that?
Yes, 100%. So there's 2 layers to that. So one is the stereotype of retirement planning equals financial planning. And we all know there's more to life than money. There's more to joy and self-actualization and emotional and mental wellness than just having money in the bank. And so that's the top of the iceberg. And below that are all these invisible factors that we don't plan for. So the tangible is the money, but then there's so much more to life and retirement than just financial planning. So there's purpose, passions, your sense of contribution, even your sense of freedom and flexibility, feeling relevant, sharing your unique gifts. That's one of my absolute favorites. Your sense of belonging, which is not just fitting into like a club. It's literally like who you're aligned with, right? In these different elements throughout your life. And it's going to be multifaceted and robust and like a diverse portfolio of life. Relationships, things like that. Love, right? Spirituality, all these different elements that are invisible. And so people tend to just skip over them thinking, oh, I'll just wing it. I'll figure it out. all those things that I thought I was wanting to do when I was working and didn't have time for, I'll just get to those, right?
Yeah.
And typically that's not what does it for someone anymore. So the fact that we like punt, oh, I'll do that when I retire. You change. We're designed to grow, evolve, change over time. And so when you get there, it's like, oh, I'm actually not into that right now. And then it shocks people, but it makes sense because you're different, right?
It
You're
does.
evolving. Yeah.
I have 2 electric guitars that I have moved around the country for the last 30 years. That one day I'm going to go right back to it. I'm going to go learn Eddie Van Halen, its entire catalog. I don't do it now. I'm not going to do it. I know I'm not going to do it, but I still lug it along thinking that someday when I'm retired, that's what I'll do.
Exactly. If you are going to do it, it stands a much better chance of you doing it now. 5 minutes a day. As a fellow musician, literally 5 minutes a day will get you that momentum that you're craving, right? And it's even good just for you to figure out, because you've been lugging it around. Like, do I actually love this? Do I love the process versus the outcome? Like the whole completed song? Like, do I like putting my fingers and getting like, on the neck and those little bruises and all that stuff and the calluses? Like, do I like this? Do I like learning? Do I like to jam out? Do I like,
Yeah.
It has a really good chance of surviving in your future if you start now.
So don't wait. Don't lug it around till I retire. Got it. Yeah, but I mean, really, I've looked at it and I've just gone, do I want to do this anymore? Or do I just want to listen every once in a while? And I don't know the answer yet because I put it away. I go, no, well, it's just there. I'll get to it.
So if you were to move, you don't know if you would move them.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, that's an emotional question, right? And when you talked about planning for retirement financially, that can be emotional, but the other stuff you talked about is emotionally tough. What happens, and you talked about this too, what happens to our brains when we stop working full time? So you just told me, do it 5 minutes a day while you're still working, and the odds of you doing this when you're retiring are much better. So what actually happens to our brains when we stop working full time?
So when you stop working full time, you drop that same routing, that same pattern in your brain. So it's like, okay, I am conditioned to achieve. I am conditioned for the next goal. I am conditioned to hit the bottom line, get the income going, right? Like, get my team going, whatever the position is as a career person. And then when that goes away, it's not as if your brain stops working, but it stops needing that route, and you need to redirect it somewhere else, right? I always say you invest so much energy, time, into your career, growing your career and your family life, right? And all that energy exerts and goes floating up, right? And it exerts nowhere unless you specifically direct it somewhere clear. Otherwise, you just end up in that retirement rut, right? It directs itself typically into depression and anxiety if you don't direct it somewhere clear. And so rather than thinking of it as like a hard stop, it's more of where can I direct and reroute my learning, right? Because we already know that we're capable of learning anything new, right? Something new. And so when we stop working, it's not just that eternal vacation where we're on break and we don't need to learn and achieve anymore. You just need to figure out where you want to achieve and what that looks like. And it's going to look like a multitude of different formats in retirement. Stuff that we don't want to predict, stuff that we don't want to say, oh, we already know ourselves so well at this age, quote, right? That like, we're going to go and that's not for me kind of thing. It's like, no, this is the time to be completely open-minded and not predict any formats or outcomes, because typically what I have found after helping people over the last decade is that it's a hodgepodge and a multitude of many different facets of you and how you want to share and express yourself and show up and engage with different people in different places, events, all that stuff. And they each have their own cadences. So it was very vibrant. They're hybrid formats, like, for example, writing a book or climbing a mountain or being a grandparent, or like, right? They each have or even just like peace. Because I've been achieving my whole life. Now I just want like peace, right? There's so many different facets that I encourage people to like allow themselves to experience just by simply being open-minded. Like I like to say, a know-it-all, or no, a learn-it-all, not a know-it-all in retirement. Yes.
And you also talk about the 5 rings of retirement, and you list growth, community, health, giving back, and finances. So first question, two-part question. First question, which one tends to get neglected first? And then walk us through the rest of them.
Okay, so the one that gets neglected first is often growth. Because of that stereotype, right? Where it's like, okay, across the finish line, now it's time to live a life of leisure only and wind down, right? And so my whole mission is to flip that stereotype on its head and say, no, it's time to spiral up. It just in completely different formats than you've ever imagined. And it's the beginning of a huge growth journey. So that's the one that people don't give as much love to just straight out of the gate. They give the most love to finance. And finance, in my 5 rings of retirement, the sole purpose is to fuel your life in the other 4 more colorful rings of retirement.
It's the tool. You said it's the fuel. Yeah.
Yes.
Because the finances impact the prior 4.
100%. And if you're someone who isn't sitting on top of a huge nest egg and you're, it's really awkward spending down your money, right? People are like, okay, I know I have it. I know logically I have it in my bank account and my financial advisor gave me lots of green lights, but it's still really awkward to spend this down and not sock away. So that's awkward. And then B, if you're feeling that like lack mentality, it is 100% possible to revenue stream your retirement. I love to call them paid passion projects. So we uncover this amazing way to share unique gifts. And so that's in the circle of giving back. Share your unique gifts with an audience that you care about. And there's 100% like a revenue opportunity there. You can turn that into something that makes money for you.
I think I catch what you're laying down there. So if you do get a little nervous about the cash burn, because you spent your entire life socking money away in some form or fashion to get to where you are. Yeah, I don't like seeing that dollar amount go down every month and nothing's replacing it. So you're saying for those types of people who get a little nervous, there is a way to turn your giving back into a little side income or even more maybe.
Absolutely. Yes. And people do it. Mm-hmm.
You've used the word rewire your brain. What does that actually mean for someone who is let's not say 45, 50, 55, but let's say 70 and thinks, can my brain really change? I mean, really, can my brain really change?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. So I'll tell a story about this. My oldest client so far to date is 92. She was really into the idea of simply learning. So for her, her expression looked like illustrating, and she was getting back to the drawing board literally and just like, learning, taking lessons on how to draw. And she loved pencil at the time. And so she was just really invigorated by the idea that like, no, my brain is learning. These are new experiences. I'm literally putting 2 novel ideas and experiences together, and that's creativity. And that was her expression and her sensation of learning and growing. So it is possible for sure at any age. It's literally just like connecting 2 pathways in your brain in a new way, wiring differently versus just going down that same route that's well trenched over and over and over and over again.
It's comfortable.
And if that pathway goes away, then it's like, oh my gosh, there are no other pathways to a specific topic, right? Hence dementia and stuff like that. So it's like, if I meet you, Ferret, today, not Ferret, and I know one fact about you and that's it. And I just keep like associating you with like this podcast and that's it.
Yeah.
And then I know no other facts about you and that brain pathway goes away. Then 10 years later, when I meet you and I don't know all these other facts about you, like we had lunch one day, or I know what your favorite color and your books are and who your family is and all this stuff, right? Then I kind of like forget you versus like all these other routes to you, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. So you mentioned a while back, well, you gave me advice, just do it 5 minutes a day, right? And that's a little push in your brain to kind of rewire and start rather than trying to start a brand new neural pathway from scratch whenever the heck I get to my basement guitars.
100%. Yes.
So that's an example of what I would think of as like kind of a small daily micro step that you just pushed on me. Are there more small daily micro steps that help people rewire their brains?
Yes. Okay. So micro steps are like my favorite magic word and process. And most people skip over the process of gaining clarity, right? So, if we dive into a new phase of life and we're like, okay, I thought that I would be doing like a list of 10 different things, right? That may or may not be the case, right? That's why a lot of people, let's say they have like jobs and careers that are like where they overextend themselves. Think nurse, education, directors, teachers, things who are like on the front lines, people who are on the front lines. So I hear a lot of blanket statements like volunteering is not for me. It's one of those stereotypes, right? Like you're supposed to volunteer, as an older adult in retirement. That's not the case. It's just we haven't gained clarity on the type of giving back opportunity, paid or unpaid, that you are just like fired up about. Right? So you need to share your unique gifts. You're compelled to do these things. You have this energy inside of you. It can still give you that flexibility and freedom, but you're not writing off volunteering altogether. You just need to gain clarity on the right one, right? So don't stuff yourself into, Red Cross or Meals on Wheels or something like that. Just let's do the gaining clarity process first. And I love using micro steps for that. I love, love, love recommending day after day after day after day, just 5 minutes of whether it's with my program, which is like a very guided, I give you every question, exercise, prompt, etc., day after day after day after day, or on your own organically where you're just literally journaling about your dream life. What energizes you? Like conjure up that physical emotion in your body, not just ideas, like drop out of your head and into your body and feel this excitement. That's like what passion and energy are. And so when you feel that, like if you, for example, we're going to think about your guitar and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling that energy again. I'm kind of excited. I'm jazzed about this. Maybe I do want to do this. Maybe I do want to pursue 5 minutes a day. Even before you get to the 5 minutes a day, it's like spend 5 minutes a day on the gaining clarity process. And I'd much rather have someone spend 5 minutes per day or even less if you feel like you're going to skip any days, 1 minute, right? Like literally, versus skip a whole week and cram in an hour of this focus of this area in your life. It's so powerful and it's very effective, like in just anything that you want to pursue with legs long term, with momentum and consistency.
Love it. Can you share a real world story of somebody who came into your program feeling lost, feeling unfulfilled, and came out energized again?
Yeah, there's so many different stories. I will say for everyone, the outcome is totally different. And while that occurs, the process is very much the same. So for everyone, we do a deep dive over the 5 rings of retirement first, and you gain clarity first before you take any outer action. So I say we do the inner action first, and then we gain clarity, then we switch to outer action. And so for a lot of people with big careers, busy, like 60 to 0, it's a shock to the system. And they're like, oh my gosh, who am I? The deeper question is, who am I? So it's like an identity shift, a role shift, and then it's, like a schedule structure shift, right? With all these shifts at once, people, they just don't feel like themselves. They're like, what do? I don't have exactly like anything on my calendar, or they fill it just to fill it, right? And it's very discombobulating, right? They get unmotivated. They lack the energy. They start to procrastinate pretty heavily, and they just like lose energy and just like don't feel like themselves. And so just that being said, the outcomes are so different for people. So it's writing books, starting chapters, starting consulting gigs, like part-time, side passion projects that pay, dancing, acting, like creativity is a massive one for expressing. So like painting, playing a musical instrument, writing. And then there's like the fitness ones, like hiking, doing, the big marathons, climbing mountains, becoming the best, a lot of the time, like grandparent or like spouse, right? So 100% of the time when you do this inner work and you work on yourself first from the inside out, again, I'm going to use that term, you show up as a better and better, more authentic, more whole version of you, and your dynamics have to shift for the better. So 100% of the time when you do this work, your relationships improve. And that would be the streamline thing across the board. Yeah.
You've experienced, and you mentioned this in the beginning of the show, you've experienced a lot of loss in your life. And not easy loss. Not that any loss is easy. What I'm saying is it wasn't, someone went to sleep peacefully, in their bed. And one day they woke up and they didn't, one day the sun rose and they didn't woke up. You've experienced a lot of loss in your life. That's also been hard to see and hard to manage. I mean, Alzheimer's is a very sad demise to see from the caregiver standpoint and the family standpoint. How did that shape your mission and the program that you built, that personal loss you went through?
The loss and the grief never really goes away, and it has its own calendar and it has its own flare-ups at its own time, and it's very chaotic, right? However, there is definitely something that like I felt early on in my life that I was like, it just made me so compassionate. And I just feel like that only increases with every loss. And I feel the cumulative grief with every loss that I experience, like from here, like it's one of those things. So I just have strong empathy and strong compassion for individuals, period. So it's kind of like when you step up to someone, know their story, you can't help but love them, right? From a distance, it's easy to like be a hater kind of a thing. And so that has only helped me become more of like a conduit to help individuals, if that makes sense. So it's like, I really just kind of channel like seeing someone, seeing who they truly are, what they want, from their perspective. And then I just help them get there. Right. And so loss kind of fuels that, because it's like, well, it puts you right up against death. So you're like, what is really meaningful in life? Right. And so that was kind of like the driving factor behind me becoming a life coach. And then, B, it's like, just, I have so much compassion and empathy, mainly empathy for people, and like have this wonderful ability to like see from their perspective and see them for who they are and what they want. And then just, I kind of see myself as just like the vessel to help, to serve.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Thanks for explaining that. No, I mean, really, because it's not just, it's part of who you are and what you bring to the table. It's not just a system or a process. It's clear that it's coming through. And it's, you said fuel or guide or whatever, but it's apparent. Thank you. I know that's tough to talk about. It was hard to ask the questions, why I stumbled over it.
Thank you though. Yeah.
Loss happens in a lot of different ways, right? You've got divorce, you can loss of a child, loss of a job. And I've talked about this in prior shows. There's a couple of different types of losses of jobs. One you're fired. Number two is you're kind of aged out. Well, you're not really fired, but maybe you're offered early retirement, or your title stagnates and somebody 20 years younger gets promoted over you. I mean, there's all sorts of ways that corporate America and even small business kind of indicate, it might be time to think about the next chapter. Either which way, losing a job and or losing that routine of a job, or even if you're an entrepreneur, your day to day, it can feel like losing a part of yourself. How do you help people rebound and rebuild identity once that goes away?
I see it as a growth path. So rather than that's gone and no longer a part of me, it's more of thank you for that. And now I am ready for the next stage. I am ready to grow into more and more and more of who I am. And that's an indefinite journey from my perspective and what I help clients do. So it's not like this is no longer, it's more thank you. I'm going to pull everything that is still resonant with me from that role, that identity, that phase, that time, and I'm going to carry with me the pieces that I want, and I'm going to morph into knowing more and more of self. That's why it's very important to go inward for those answers, not outward, not externally. And so really it's honestly just a path of getting to know yourself and your authenticity, and that just like widens your capacity to like be and like arrive and engage and be there for other people.
All right. So what about couples who retire at different times, or they suddenly find themselves together 24/7 for the first time in decades?
Yeah.
Any survival tips there?
I mean, sometimes it's a blast. I've heard people reference their spouse's playmate, and that's fantastic. And then at the other end, it's like, all hell breaks loose. This is too much, not going well. So I always say, even with the couple that's like, okay, I can totally spend 24/7 with my spouse, which is very rare. And there's still got to be that distinction. So you have your own growth path, journey, passions, purpose, and then your spouse has theirs, and then you have your joint activities together. So I love to just make those three differentiations, like those discernments, so that you both can contribute to the third path, which is your couple's activities, and have that very clear. And then you won't get offended when the other person wants to do their own thing. And in fact, you encourage it because you have your own outlined and clear.
So even if somebody's still working full time and the other one's retiring, you still got to do it. You don't just wait and hang out and go play guitar 5 minutes a day until your spouse decides to retire 5 years from now, right?
Right. I less compartmentalizing in that way, the better, because it doesn't matter if you're pre-retired, post-retired, working full-time, working part-time, having your own paid passion project or unpaid volunteer gig, right? It doesn't matter. When you're starting to seek these answers and like, okay, what's next? What do I really want to do? What's going to like fulfill me, right? You just go for it from there, right? Like I meet people exactly where they are, and typically it's very, very messy and very chaotic. Right? Otherwise, they wouldn't be seeking. They'd have it all figured out and be like, I have so much energy. So I always like to say that it doesn't matter if one spouse is retired or the other one you're still waiting, because there's going to be adjustments at all of those departures anyway. And you're going to have more layers of transition probably on top of it, in addition to like the subtle stuff that you don't really actively see on the outside, like your identity and your fulfillment and like all these things that are like chomping at the bit to come out as you grow and express in different ways.
And it's wise to be on the same page when you're in a partnership all the way through that process. I can totally see that.
Yes.
So,
talk now.
Yeah. That's the headline. Talk now. Not later. Now.
No. Yeah.
So for somebody who's listening or watching that may feel aimless right now, or maybe they've got their finances figured out and they're in pre-retirement, wondering whether to pull the ripcord on the job or the career or sell their company, what's the first small thing they can do today, right now, to start kind of thinking about that move and feeling purposeful again? Like they see on the other side of this, like, I might lose my identity and my purpose. So while they're here, what's the first thing they can do today to start feeling that purpose or that other side of the coin today?
Proactively gain clarity. So proactively ask yourself and probe your subconscious brain, but you could get there by just journaling actively every single day, just for 5 minutes, like what you imagine your retirement life to be, what you imagine pre-retirement to be, what you imagine, like semi-retirement, I should say, would be the right word, because I always hear about, should I retire? Should I not? Should I retire? Should I not? Like they're like having a lot of anxiety about like setting a date.
Like a light switch, right? It's either on or off. There's no middle ground, but there is.
But there is, right? So micro step. Yes. Like proactively, if your brain is seeking like what's next, like I would say don't do the cold turkey thing and start doing it now. Because when people come to me before they officially retire or even before they have a date, it's so much better to implement some of those things that you want to be doing now, like 5 minutes of guitar now, because then it makes the transition so much more seamless and you're so confident in your, winding down process. You don't have to have anxiety about it. You don't have to like gonna grip on with like these like, these crazy vines I say, they come grab people and they're like, no, you're a lawyer. No, like, and then you have all these fears, or the alarm system is just so strong. So it's like, gain clarity now, proactively gain clarity now, like really just heighten your awareness and pay attention to what like energizes you and what drains you, and start implementing those things now. So if I were to give anyone advice, it'd be to just start that process immediately.
Let's talk about the A word, accountability. How important is accountability or an accountability partner in all this to keep the momentum going? Because I'll tell you, I have not had an accountability partner for my guitar work except the brain matter between these 2 ears. So if I had one, or I had a partner in crime, they would learn, how to sing like David Lee Roth, and I would play Eddie. I'd probably get a lot further than not touching it for 20 years. So accountability, how important is accountability in keeping that momentum up?
It's pretty massive at the beginning. For sure. So, but there are two types of people. So there's the person who loves accountability and thrives with like hand holding and like active engagement in conversations. And they're the type who like very thorough, kind of like sounding board, like yes, confirmation. Okay. Then from there, it's kind of like, okay, got some momentum. We're getting the shifts. And then it's like you remove me, for example, as your training wheels, then you're good to go. Others start off with the self accountability pretty strong. And so they can do it like regularly so long as there's a process to follow, right? So when there's like open-ended unknowns, no structure, no direct prompts, sometimes people can just get lost or, continue the old habit, the conditioned way of just postponing and procrastinating. So accountability at the beginning is very, very important. And there's varying levels of people who are really good at like continuing that once they have a process, it's like game on, boom. And I'm not as worried about them versus the people, not that I'm like worried, but like worried for their momentum to have a lot of longevity. And then there's others who are like just really into the hand holding.
When you say hand holding, it makes me feel not
good.
well. I mean, I just don't want to seriously, if I had a neighbor that came and said, listen, I've got a drum set, you've got a guitar, let's meet up 10 minutes a day, I would do it. I know I would do it. It's just that I'm just a wimp, and I guess I need my handheld, I guess. Right?
I think handling is a positive term because that could turn it into like something fun, right? Like I would look forward to like jam sessions like 5 minutes a day. Yeah. And like people who I'm calling like the handholding, they love session. Like they get so juiced and energized from a conversation.
Yeah,
right?
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Hey, so let's talk. We talked about the A word. Let's talk about the C word. Community. I mean, from my neighbor, this is a family show. I wasn't going to go the other way. So accountability and then community, right? So even if my community is my neighbor across the street, I mean, look, your world can become very, very tiny the second you pre-retire or retire, right? I mean, it can just be all your work buddies, or that's what they were. They were work buddies. There's only one or two real ones. People are out working 8 to 5 or commuting. So it's really 7 to 7. They're not hanging out with you in the middle of the day when you are. So community, how important is community to keeping that momentum going?
Massive, 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 but a specific type of community. So your friends of convenience go away immediately, right? Because you're like, I'm not driving to the same place as these people anymore. What do I do? So the risk is going into isolation and or just like not connecting and not making that extra effort, because it takes extra effort and you don't have relationships based on convenience anymore. It's really important to differentiate between what I like to call like circle of influence people and circle of concern people. So circle of influence people are people that you want to invest your energy and reach out to these people because they encourage your growth, your evolution, challenges, right? They are aligned with you and who you're becoming. And the circle of concern are, people who are really kind of stuck in fear-based thinking. They're like into the news and like that gets to them. They gossip a lot, right? Like they don't encourage change whatsoever. And so if you're going to exert energy, because community is very, very, very important, exert energy into those people who are more aligned in your circle of influence. And it is possible to have someone in both circles and just put it into the context of an activity. So for example, you could love and be energized by hanging out with someone like while hiking or something, but like drained when you're like, I don't know, having cocktails and gossiping or something like that. Right. So it's really about just that heightening awareness of what is truly energizing to you in general.
Yeah, and segmenting them into those two buckets is unique because as you were describing that, I can see people and I know their names. You just described, right? I mean, you did. You were like, yeah, well, I really enjoy that activity with that guy, but this activity with the same guy, no way.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so
that's a big game changer for people.
Yeah, that is. Well, it's big. Yeah, I haven't thought about it like that, but it's totally true. All right. This has been great. But I've asked a lot of questions, but what questions that have I not asked that I should have?
Good question. What about how does this apply to me? When do I need to consider a life coach or not at all? Or when, and
That's
to
a
me,
great
it's
question.
like, just,
Yeah, do it.
it's not
Yeah,
black and white.
when do I call you? When do I email you? When do I go to your website? Yeah, do
Yeah,
that.
good. Because whenever you're seeking any of these answers, whether super shallow and premature and proactive and early on, or super deep into a rut where you're like, oh my gosh, I've been retired for years and I can't get out of this rut and I'm just not feeling like there's much hope for me ahead, right? So it's literally just like whenever you're seeking, go and get some answers, whether it's with me or anyone else. I'm just encouraging people in general to go and seek the answers because they are there and they are inside of you, and it's never too old is my whole point. Like and it's not too early to start thinking about this stuff for sure, right?
Yeah, and so help me out. Is it a program, as in there's a start and a finish, or is it a start and then it never comes? So is it a Netflix subscription that never ends until you cancel it, or is it kind of a 90-day, 180-day? How does this work, or is it all of the above?
It is. So for my program specifically, it's a 3-month minimum program to really get that new wiring in place so that it sets the trajectory for bigger growth. And then you can go on your own, rinse and repeat. And so you're already embodying the system. So it's 3-month minimum, for Rewire My Retirement. And then if you want coaching, there's people who love it. The people who like to have their hand held for years. And so I'll just leave that there because this is my passion and calling, the coaching part. And then, I just encourage people in general to, when they're seeking, just to go out there and see who resonates, see what resonates, but basically just to keep looking, and then know that the answers are from within. So everything I publish, whether it's free content, videos, articles, or paid, deeper coaching stuff, it's just there for the one goal of helping you achieve your best retirement years full of passion and purpose. So
it makes a lot of sense. I'll put a parallel out there. You see if it's right. But yeah, can you lose 10 pounds by going to the gym for 90 days and going through a program with a personal trainer? Sure. And then some small percentage of people can keep that 10 pounds off. But a lot of us probably go you know what? Thanks for the 10 pounds, but I want to keep it off. I'm going to keep coming back for some other time until something else changes. Is that an
Perfect.
apt parallel?
Yes, for sure.
That makes sense. Where can people find you, learn more, or join your program?
Secondwindmovement.com is my website. All the stuff is there. Yep.
Awesome.
And then I have a YouTube channel with a lot
I was going to say, are you on
too.
you're on the YouTubes, the Facebooks, the Insta?
On the tubes.
You're on everything. Okay, awesome. Look, this has been fantastic. I think a lot of people underestimate how much mindset matters once paychecks stop.
I love that.
And so we've talked about, and you've shown that retirement can actually be kind of the start of something bigger and really more genuine, perhaps, than having your neural pathways hijacked for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, however long you've worked. So if you want to learn more about Cyn Meyer and the Rewire Retirement Method, visit secondwindmovement.com or check out her book, From Aimless to Amazing, on Amazon. Cyn, thanks for joining me, and thanks to everyone watching or listening for being a part of this community pursuing wealth, wisdom, and wellness in every stage of life. Cyn, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining me on The Matt Ferret Show. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please share it with a friend and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. If you're on Apple or Spotify, a quick rating or review really helps more people discover the show. For more resources, visit themattferretshow.com and sign up for the Matt Ferret newsletter. And if you or someone you care for needs Medicare guidance, book a no-obligation consultation at brickhouseagency.com. Helping people make smarter choices as they age is my passion. This show is here to light the path towards your wealth, wisdom, and wellness. Thanks for being a part of the conversation.
The Matt Ferret Show, related content, publications, and MF Media LLC is in no way associated, endorsed, or authorized by any governmental agency, including the Social Security Administration, the Department of Health and Human Services, or the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. The Matt Ferret Show is in no way associated with, authorized, approved, endorsed, nor in any way affiliated with any company, trademark names, or other marks mentioned or referenced in or on The Matt Ferret Show. Any such mention is for purpose of reference only. Any advice, generalized statistics, or opinions expressed are strictly those of the host and guests of The Matt Ferret Show. Although every effort has been made to ensure the contents of The Matt Ferret Show and related content are correct and complete, laws and regulations change quickly and often. The ideas and opinions expressed on The Matt Ferret Show aren't meant to replace the sage advice of healthcare, insurance, financial planning, accounting, or legal professionals. You are responsible for your financial decisions. It is your sole responsibility to independently evaluate the accuracy, correctness, or completeness of the content, services, and products of, and associated with, The Matt Ferret Show, MF Media LLC, and any related content or publications. The thoughts and opinions expressed on The Matt Ferret Show are those of the host and The Matt Ferret Show guests only, and are not the thoughts and opinions of any current or former employer of the host or guests of The Matt Ferret Show, nor is The Matt Ferret Show made by, on behalf of, or endorsed or approved by any current or former employer of the host or guests of The Matt Ferret Show.